Today, I'm going to be sharing with you 5 self-help book recommendations. The reason why I want to do this video is because self-help is a genre that has been really impactful for me in my life, and I wanted to share with you some of the books that have meant a lot to me that I can recommend for you to read. The reason also why I want to make this video is because I know that the self-help genre is not for everyone, and then there's certain books within the genre that can be a turnoff for some, and some may really like that. And I wanted to give a recommendation list that was for everyone, that had something for everyone out there. So I'm going to be breaking this list down into 5 different types of people. Whichever book or type of person resonates with you most, that is the book that I would recommend to you. Obviously, there are so many recommendations out there. I'm going to try to make this book list as diverse as possible. I'm not just going to be putting the trendiest books on the list, the ones that have the swear word in the title to grab people's attention. Some of the books that I'm going to be mentioning are books that you've probably heard of or have seen, and then other books are ones that you probably have never heard of, are not very popular, but that does not make them any less great. So without further ado, let's get started with the first person. So the first person that I'm going to be recommending to you are those that either have a spiritual practice or are new and want to start one. And the book that I would recommend is The Universe Has Your Back by Gabrielle Bernstein. I couldn't really be talking about self-help recommendations unless I was talking about Gabby Bernstein. She is the person that got me into self-help and basically catapulted my interest in self-help and mental health. And I've read this book so many times. I've listened to it on audio. I've also picked it up many times. And I really like her writing because she just makes spirituality very accessible, and she also doesn't tell you what you need to believe. She allows you to figure out whatever makes sense for you and then gives you the guidance and tools to help deepen your spiritual practice. And I really like how she has exercises and things that you can do during the day to help you with your spirituality and deepen your faith in the universe. That's basically what this book is about. It's about trusting and having faith in the universe and the world around you and releasing fear. One of the times that I was reading this book, I had this practice where I'd read a chapter of the book and then I would journal after it, and I would do that every single night. And I just think that this book is really great for anyone who's interested in spirituality or want to learn more about spirituality. The next book that I'm going to recommend is for young women that are either early on in their career or maybe are still in college, and that book is 22 by Alison Trowbridge. I actually coincidentally read this book when I was 22. You obviously don't have to be this exact age, but it was just kind of funny, and I just stumbled upon it in the library. I thought the cover was absolutely beautiful, and it did really make an impact on me. And Allison really is just talking about the struggles that young women face in trying to figure out their purpose in life, their direction, for women who want to make a global impact but also have fulfilling relationships. And she just answers all of the questions that young women face that are early on in their career. This can be a really great book for people that are not really sure what direction they have and what they should do, and maybe feel pulled in different directions. And she answers the question of, well, there's so many options, which one is for me? And I just really thought this book was inspirational. I don't know a lot of books that are targeted for women at this specific age group, and that's why I wanted to recommend it, because it's not very widely known, and I know that it really impacted me. There was just one paragraph in the book that really I thought was so beautiful, and I still remember it to this day. But yeah, if you're confused on what you want your career to look like, what you want your relationships to look like, and you're either in college and ready to face the world, or you're already out in the world, I think this book is really great and it deserves more hype than it has gotten. So the next person that I'm going to be recommending to is the person that likes both science but also likes philosophy, and that is Finding Our Humanity. This book you probably have never heard of. It only has 5 reviews on Amazon. I actually found out about this book because I went to the fundraiser and the author was there, and he basically runs this rehabilitation center for orangutans, and he's honestly one of the kindest people I've ever come across. There's something about the sincerity when he speaks and how much he truly cares about these animals and is so selfless in his love for saving orangutans. So the book obviously talks a lot about orangutans, which I know might sound weird to some people, but he talks a lot about human evolution, as the orangutan is a close ancestor to humans, and he's also very philosophical and spiritual. And I thought that this book was so interesting and well done, like the blend of science and psychology, but also finding a deeper meaning in life and using nature and animals as a way to discover that. It was just like a very unique self-help book, and I was just very, very surprised by it. This book I wish was more widely known. I think it's absolutely beautiful, and I think more people definitely need to read it. So the next book I'm going to recommend is for someone who likes to connect with the people that they're reading about and is really interested in stories, and that is Maybe You Should Talk to Someone by Lori Gottlieb. This is a very famous book. It came out in 2019, I believe. And I wouldn't say this is actually a traditional self-help book, but I wanted to put it on this list anyway because I really love this book and I feel like a lot of people can gain many insights from it. So it's, as I said, a nonfiction. Lori Gottlieb is herself a therapist. The book opens up where she goes through this very traumatic breakup and she seeks out a therapist. And then in addition to her telling her own story, we also hear the story of 4 of her patients and everything that they've experienced and what they've gone through. And the reason why I love Lori Gottlieb's writing so much is because she is such a beautiful storyteller. She's very raw and real and is open at sharing her faults. Not only can she do that, but she offers a lot of insight and really interesting information, and you learn a lot about her life, and then you also learn a lot about her patients. And the reason why I recommend this for people that like learning about stories and relating to people is just that there's so many main characters in this book that I feel like you can find a piece of yourself and at least one other person in this book, and it honestly reads more like a novel than it does a self-help book or a nonfiction book, and it's a page turner. Also, if you're interested in therapy or you're considering therapy, you've gone to therapy in the past, it's a book that can be very relatable, or just open yourself up to the possibility of potentially going to therapy one day. And I just really like this. I could relate to a lot of the people. It also humanizes a lot of the people who, some of them are very unlikable when you first meet them, but then when you learn more about them, they become more human. And I just thought that the experience reading this was so great. I love this book so much. It was one of my top favorite books of last year. So the next self-help book that I'm going to recommend is for the person that either doesn't like self-help books, has never really read nonfiction, and needs kind of an introduction to that type of writing. I'm actually going to be recommending a fiction book, and that's going to be The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. And the reason why I want to recommend this book is because I feel like a lot of times when we think about self-help, we always think about nonfiction books that have studies and statistics and all that kind of stuff. And some people are just fiction readers. They like to hear about stories and characters, and they like to be able to relate to the main character. So I want to recommend a fiction book on this list, and the reason why I picked this specific fiction book is because it talks a lot about mental health and depression. The main character suffers from depression, and then one day she's transported to the Midnight Library, which is basically a library of books where each book is her life if she had made a different decision, if she had chosen a different career path, if she had chosen a different relationship, if she moved to a different place, and she learns about what her life would have looked like if she had made a different choice in life. And I thought this book was really well done. I think the concept is incredibly interesting, and it answers the question of regret and what it means to have regrets and how do you deal with it and how do you change your mindset about it. Also, it deals with depression and mental illness. As I said, the main character suffers from, as he stated in the book, situational depression. And I thought this book was a really great read for people that are interested in fiction, want to read about someone that has depression, or wants a little bit of whimsy as well, just because the Midnight Library kind of has that whimsical feel to it, and it's really interesting because then you kind of start thinking about all of the different things that would be in your library and you can really relate to it. So I would really recommend the Midnight Library as a fiction version of a self-help book. So obviously I know that there may not be a book on this list that exactly fits what you need. And going off of the last book that I just recommended, which was someone who's dealing with depression, I would just recommend looking for a book, either fiction or nonfiction, that has to do with the topic that you're most interested in, whether it's something that you're going through or something that you want to learn more about. And there's so many books out there. I obviously can't talk about all of them, but I just want to say that you're not alone with whatever you're going through, and there's going to be someone out there who's had a similar experience to you, and there's probably a book written on that experience and someone that you can relate to. So if situational depression or depression is not something that you've dealt with, but you want to explore another topic, I would just highly recommend going online and searching for books on a topic that you really want to read about. I'm going to leave a resource down below as a way for you to find a book on a topic that really speaks to you. But I just wanted to give you guys a brief overview on some self-help books that I recommend. Don't forget that self-help books, changing yourself, bettering yourself, is not something that you do on January 1st. It's not something that you have to do on a Monday. You do it wherever you are at any moment. Whether it's midway through the week, midway through the year, I always think that there's no right time to work on yourself, and the time is always now. And I just really hope that you guys enjoyed these recommendations. Please let me know if you've heard of any of these books. I know some are more popular than others, but also leave down below what your favorite self-help book is. I've read a lot of self-help books in my life, and I'd love to hear if we overlap in any way. But thank you so much for getting all the way till the end of this video. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in the next one.